Hey, what's up? This is Mark from Enchantment of Eternity. I've seen a couple of movies recently, and I just want to, real quick, just talk about them. Just doing this live sort of video thing just to get it out there right away. And I'm doing it at an ungodly hour. Well, it's only 9 p.m. for me here in New Zealand, but I know it's like 5 a.m. On the east coast of the States or something. But I'm just throwing out a few thoughts here on two movies that I've seen recently. First, A Quiet Place and Deadpool 2. Now, A Quiet Place, it was actually released a while ago, several months ago, but I actually just got around to seeing it last week, I believe. So I actually saw Infinity War first. And I've been hearing good things about it. I hear it was a great movie, so I wanted to see it and see if it was as great as everyone was talking about. And the answer is yes. It was as great as everyone talked about. I did really enjoy this film. I thought it was a horror film, and I typically am not a fan of horror, but it was actually almost like more suspense than it was horror, which I actually do really like a good suspense film. But I think is honestly is one of the best horror movies I've seen like ever. I think this I did like a top 10 favorite horror movies video a couple years ago. If I did it again, this one would probably get in my top 10. Now, I probably have to let it sit for a while, perhaps watch it again before I know how high it would get. But this is a damn good movie, and it was a very simple movie. You know, if you've seen the trailers, you know the premise. Yes, Jerome, I just mentioned it was 5 a.m. in the East Coast. So it was 9 p.m. for me, on Saturday night for me here. But anyway, yes, I mentioned before that yeah, if you've seen the trailers, you know the premise. It's a pretty simple movie. Pretty simple premise is about this. They don't go into too much detail world building, but they don't really need to. They just set the stage. It's like a post-apocalyptic nightmare where there's these monsters that will kill anyone instantly, and they can't be stopped or unstoppable. But they can only detect you by sound. So the whole thing is people survive by not making any sound, and of course that creates a real like tension. The movie just follows one family. As they try to survive in a world without sound. They communicate by sign language. So it makes it a very visual movie with very minimal dialogue. But I think that gives it a unique style that actually really works. And the acting in this film is absolutely top notch. The parents are amazing. And of course, Emily Blunt plays the mother, and then there's the children. These are some of the best child actors I've ever seen. Just do absolutely outstanding job. Duran says that I'm surprised you really like the place as much as you did. For me, it's getting worse in my head the more I think about it. Really? I don't know. Well, maybe I have to see it again. But actually, Ed, I still really enjoyed that movie. It was simple, I will give you that, but it was one of the most like thrilling. Like I was on the edge of my seat. And really, because most horror movies I find are just boring and they use a lot of horror movie cliches, which I cannot stand. This movie avoids most of them, but the one horror movie cliche that it does use is the jump scares. Sometimes it goes a bit overboard with the jump scares, like if someone reaches out and touches someone, they go "Don!" and it's like, oh no, it's just your sister reaching out to grab you to safety. So that's a bit annoying, but it doesn't really hamper the overall, like that's a really minor complaint. It doesn't really hamper the overall quality of the film, which I think this was I would put it up there with films like Aliens, honestly. I mean, that is ridiculously high praise. It's not as good as Aliens, don't get me wrong, but it's up there with it. It was like that super intense, and I could relate it to the characters. I cared about the characters. I was invested with the characters, understood the characters, and that's when you're generally afraid, because most horror movies, there's just a band of generic characters who are slowly killed off one by one, and you don't care. In this movie, I cared, and it was really good. John says, I hated the music, and for a film like this, it really shouldn't have a soundtrack at all. No, all right, agree to disagree on that. I love the music. And I think I personally have a pet peeve against films without soundtracks, but that's just me. The sound design in this film was amazing. It was absolutely top notch. So highly recommend seeing Quiet Place, and I'll probably talk about it more when I do like my end of the year top 10 favorite movies, because this no doubt will be quite high on that list. So now let me move over to Deadpool 2. Now I'm going to start out spoiler free for Deadpool 2 for those who haven't, but I do want to get more into the spoilers with this particular film. Hey, Colonel Doomsday, what's up? How's it going? So Deadpool 2, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on this. Mostly positive, but a lot of people are saying it's good, but it's not quite as good as the first one. And I disagree. I actually think this was better than the first one. Now, part of the reason why I feel that way is because I never held the first one in as high esteem as many people did. I liked it, don't get me wrong. I thought it was a really good movie. It was a funny movie. I just didn't see it as this masterpiece or breakthrough original film that many people were praising it to be, because I thought the plot was just way too simple. It was just a simple revenge plot about him trying to get revenge on the guy who turned it. And did they have a love story that did make it kind of interesting, but it was very simple and a lot of sort of cliches. And it's funny because I've heard several critics complain about Deadpool 2, saying that they broke the fourth wall too much. And I could not disagree with that more. I actually think that the first one broke the fourth wall too much. It was like, to me, that went overboard. It was like, all right, we get it, he's breaking the fourth wall, and it really took me out of the movie. Whereas the second one, they actually didn't break the fourth wall all that much. And see, that's the thing with the second one, is it didn't have like as many jokes per second as the first, but when it did have jokes, they really land. And everyone has a different sense of humor, since the humor is very subjective. But for me, the jokes in Deadpool 2 were actually much funnier. Like, I was laughing my ever-loving ass off at several jokes in this film, whereas in the first film there was with one or two where I was hysterical, but most of them I just, oh yeah, that's pretty funny. But this one, there are jokes that really landed with me. And watching some of the reviews, it seems that they landed with me a bit more than a few other people. But, as I said, everyone has a different sense of humor opinion. Now, I was hoping that Deadpool 2 would be amazing. It would be the film that everyone was saying Deadpool 1 was, that it was like out of this world. And unfortunately, it didn't live up to those high expectations. I think the plot was a bit unstructured. It did meander a little bit. Like it took too long to get going. I'll say that for sure. There was too much of a preamble in the first 45 minutes of the film. And then the second half of the film, when the plot really kicked in, went by too fast. So it was a poorly structured plot. But that being said, like, I didn't go see the movie for the plot. I mainly went to see it for the jokes and for the action sequences, and those all worked really well. In fact, I thought the action sequences worked a lot better, blended better with the humor than the first movie did. To them, I thought the action sequence kind of bogged down the humor in the first movie, whereas in the second movie, I think they congeal a hell of a lot better, and I really enjoyed it. So in the chat, Jerron says, haven't seen it yet, so I'll probably tune out when you say spoilers, but expectations for me are meh. I agree with your opinion on the first one. It was fun, but it was kind of comedy. Doesn't has a lot of replay value. Not to mention the first film, color palette looks like concrete. Oh, does it? No. I didn't notice that. Okay, so I think, Jerron, it might be time for you to tune out, because I'm going to get into spoilers now with Deadpool 2, and then I'll end the video shortly after. So I'm not going to be here much longer, so you're not missing out. So if you haven't seen Deadpool 2, you can turn off this video now, because I won't be here much longer. I'm just going to get into some spoilers into Deadpool 2. Hopefully no one will join the chat while I'm doing spoilers and get spoiled, but I think this is late at night, so hopefully not. Anyway, spoilers for Deadpool 2. Now, I don't have too much to say about it. I mainly want to talk about the X-Force because I have very mixed feelings about the whole X-Force scene because they basically just did the joke from MacGruber. Is that what it's called, MacGruber? I didn't really care for that movie very much. But the one joke I liked in that movie, the one joke I think that really worked was the one that Deadpool 2 ripped off. All right, see you later, Drone. Colonel Doomsday in the chat says Rosebud, absolutely right. Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Okay, anyway, what I was saying about about Deadpool 2. The X-Force scene, yeah. So the X-Force scene was kind of a ripoff of the whatchamacallit. Yeah, the MacGruber scene, the only scene in that film I really like. So MacGruber, I think it's called that by now. Anyway, everyone gets on, like, he introduced, I had this crack team of professionals going to go on this mission. So it's like all these military experts, a demolition specialist and this specialist, and they introduce them and show how badass they are. And they all get in like the truck or airplane or something. And then he's like, yeah, we're ready to go. And he doesn't store the bombs correctly, and then the whole thing blows up and they all die. That actually, as I said, I didn't like MacGruber the movie other than that joke. That joke I thought was hilarious, and they pretty much stole the same thing for Deadpool 2 with X-Force, and I have mixed feelings about it because, you know, obviously, well, you have seen the movie because I'm getting into spoilers, but, you know, they get on the plane and Deadpool's like, oh, we're calling ourselves X-Force. And he's building them out to be the team and have, you know, take the time to introduce all the different members of the team, but everyone's saying, oh, there's too much wind. There's a high wind advisory. He's like, oh, who cares? We're going to go, you know, parachute out this plane anyway. And all of them die except for Deadpool and Domino are the only two who don't die. The you know, normal guy, what's his name? Peter, I think it is, who does have these superpowers. He actually survives, but then gets killed by the other guy. He spits vomit when he tries to help him. And so that's kind of the same MacGruber joke where they take all this time to build up this team to show the badass. And they even had what's his face, the guy from the Expendables, like a well-known actor, I'm blanking on his name, who's like known for like being an action star. I don't know if someone was saying that. Oh, Colonel Doomsday doesn't mind being spoiled. Well, that's all good then. But anyway, even he gets killed, and everyone gets killed immediately. And that kind of, I mean, it's funny because, you know, there's a whole wind advisory, and Deadpool keeps saying, oh, wind advisory, who cares? And everyone gets blown into the wrong direction. And, it, you know, it shows Domino's the only one who survives because it shows that her powers are lucky and she's lucky or whatever. But like that, so it was funny, but at the same time, I found that a massive disappointment, especially the way the trailers were playing off, because the trailers were playing off, oh, this is going to build an X-Force movie. We have all these a new superhero team. I mean, the tagline for this, hopefully I'm still connected. But anyway, I'm not sure. Hold on. If my internet is still connected. See if you can respond if you hear me. Hold on, I might have to. Sorry, technical issues. Okay. All right, hopefully I'm still on. Did I say episode? Oh, I meant movie. Anyway, hopefully you can hear me, and I'm not just talking about nothing. But anyway, so So it was kind of like a waste of time where they, you know, set up to, oh, Colonel Doomsday says I'm still here. Okay, good. So as they built up this huge superhero team and they're playing in the trailers like they're going to be this going to set up a franchise, and they're just all dead. So that actually pissed me off, to be honest. And they did it just to do the MacGruber joke. And that was better in MacGruber, and I don't think it was actually helpful to this film itself. Plus, another major thing is because, and this is part of thing that kind of hurt this film was I saw too many trailers that gave away a lot of the great jokes. And one of the things the trailers were showing was that Peter guy who was just like, if you've seen the trailer, well, hopefully you've seen the movie, but he's just like a normal guy with no superpowers. And I thought that was hilarious. And he's like, I have type 2 diabetes. And I think they actually cut that scene from the film, which is disappointing. And Deadpool's like, oh, that's a good superpower. But anyway, I thought that guy was going to be great. I thought it was going to be a huge running thing. In fact, I saw like this critic who said that he was glad that they killed that guy off because he thought it would bog the film down. I completely disagree. I'm a complete opposite. I was really disappointed that they killed him off so quickly, even though the post-credit scene does save him. I was expecting him to be in the film a hell of a lot more. In fact, I was expecting this whole team to be in the film a whole hell of a lot more, because like the whole tagline of the film is Deadpool is coming, but he's not alone. But his whole entire team dies. I'm sure there's Domino and there's Cable and there's still, the cab driver from the first film and, the little boy from New Zealand. But still, like I thought when the whole tagline, he's not alone, I think you would think that means he has a whole team and not just one person helping him. So I was very disappointed in that, but I did really love, like, the one part I was laughing my ever-loving ass off was the Vanisher. I love, like, every time they mentioned the Vanisher or showed the Vanisher, like, there was just an empty room. It's like, there's no one here, is there? It's like, oh, no, the Vanisher's there. You get it? He's not there. And on the plane, they have, like, an empty seat with just the vest. And you're thinking the whole time that no one's really there. It's just, they're just imagining that they're acting like someone's there when no one's really there. But then when it gets caught up in the electric wires and dies, you have a brief cameo of Brad Pitt, and they show that Brad Pitt is the Vanisher, and that was the best fucking use of a cameo I've ever seen. It was hilarious. I was laughing my ever-loving ass off at that. That was funny as hell. But, yeah. So that part of it was really great. That part I really liked. But, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought, but there was something related to this that also bothered me a little bit, but I can't think of that. Anyway, okay, yeah, I'm still good. So all right, let me talk about this thing that I loved. And I heard someone bad-mouthing this, and I was like, how fucking dare you bad-mouth this? Because this is the funniest joke I ever have seen in a long time. I was laughing hysterically in the theater at this. Was okay, at the end of the film, they have this huge battle sequence, and they had the Juggernaut. And the Juggernaut, like, this is the best Juggernaut that we've ever seen on film ever. It was done so well. But anyway, when the Juggernaut was attacking, and I noticed it, and what I love about this joke is because it's subtle. You may not even, like, some people might not even notice it. But, whenever this, like, huge action sequence at the end of a comic book movie or something, they always had this, like, orchestral, like, music where there's, like, a choir going, la, 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 to make it seem, like, more grand and more doom, and, like, you're absolutely doomed. Like, if there's, like, this huge supervillain or huge power that seems unbeatable, they have that sort of opera orchestral choir music to make it sound like more daunting, more dire, that they're all completely fucked. So I absolutely loved to death that the choir was singing something, I can't remember exactly, but something like, holy shit balls, it's the Juggernaut, we're all fucked now, we're all fucked. Oh my God, that was the funniest thing. I was literally rolling around laughing at that, and especially in the credits they played that song again, where you can hear the song by itself. Because that is the great thing about Deadpool, is that it makes fun of the whole superhero trope, because I'm actually a bit sick of superhero movies. I'm not as into them as a lot of people are, but I'm into them enough where I get all of the references, because there's tons of references. If you're unfamiliar with comic book movies that might go straight over your head. Like when Deadpool's trying to come up with an excuse to his girlfriend of why he's late. He's like, oh, I ran into a Caped Crusader and we got into a fight, but then we realized that both our mother's name is Martha. I'm sorry, but that was absolutely brilliant. I wasn't quite okay with their decision to kill off the girlfriend before the opening credits, but I did love how they mocked that and made fun of that in the opening credits. It'd be like, holy shit, did you just kill her? And of course, they bring her back to life in the post-credit scene, which makes one wonder which continuity they will go with in future films, the one where she's alive or the one where she's not alive, because he also goes back in time and kills the first version of Deadpool and X-Men Origin Wolverine, which, again, hilarious. Probably the best sequence I've ever seen. What's it? DNA Production says fourth, fifth. Not sure what he means by that, but in any case, hopefully you've seen the film, because I'm into spoilers now. But anyway, what was I saying? I'm sure there was one other complaint I wanted to bring up about this film, but it's kind of I can't remember it now. This is what happens when you don't take notes, kid. I forgot to take any notes about it. Just came on and just blabbered. But at any rate. What was I saying? I don't know. But at any rate, God, it had something to do with one of the side characters. Well, the cab driver. That's right. The Rohinder or whatever his name is. I heard some other critics praise him, be like, oh, I really liked him in this film. I thought it was a lot better. They gave him a bigger role. I completely disagree. I did not like him in this film. I thought he was really annoying. In the first film, I thought he was used correctly, and his jokes worked. But in this film, it was just like, they made him annoying and they made him stupid. And plus, speaking of recurring characters that didn't work, that, the T.J. Miller bartender or whatever, he was really useless in this film as well. Like, his whole thing could have been cut. I just wish that they would have kept some of these X-Force characters alive and had them in the film more. And they should have had Domino in the film more, and they should have had Cable in the film more. Oh, I didn't talk about Cable. He worked. I didn't think he was amazing. He was more of a plot device, but he worked for what he did. And some of the jokes involving him, although he didn't crack jokes, but he was a straight man to Deadpool who was cracking jokes, and that worked. That dynamic worked very well. So I do agree with a lot of critics who said there should have been more of him, more of Domino, and I would add more of the X-Force team and forego that MacGruber joke because it's been done before. But anyway, so I think for Deadpool 2, I'd actually give it, I'm torn between an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. I would give it an 8.5, but I decided to never do that. But somewhere in that spot. Maybe 9 out of 10 because I think because I give Deadpool 1 a 7 out of 10, and I think this is probably 2 notches better than that, in my opinion. But maybe a 9 is too strong for this film. I don't know. Something like that. And I didn't give my rating for The Quiet Place either, but that's going to be a 9 or a 10. I'm going to have to think about that a bit longer. But anyway, yeah. Colonel Doom says that we can't all be lower on that. That's right. He takes lots of notes. But anyway, yeah, that's it. That's it for my little very disorganized impromptu video where I'm just blabbering on. That's all I had to say. I also saw a movie earlier in the year called Annihilation, which was amazing, but I saw that a while ago, so I'm not going to talk about it. As I said, I'll probably get to it at the end of the year when I do my top 10 favorite movies film, but that was a really good science fiction film. But anyway, that's all I have. As usual, I'm seeing 10 movies over the summer. I say that because it's actually winter for me, but the blockbuster summer season. As I do every year, this is like the 4th year in a row I do this. I see 10 movies that are summer blockbusters, and then at the end of the summer, I rate them in order from my least favorite to favorite. And I almost decided not to do that this year, but I was like, fuck it. I'll do it. There was only like 2 or 3 movies that I would call like quota movies, which I'm forcing myself to see, which I probably wouldn't see if I didn't need to meet my quota of 10 movies, but that's all good. Just 2 or 3. Most of these I would probably see anyway. Yes, Colonel Doomsday, you should see Annihilation. For us, it's on Netflix, so quite easy. That's really disappointing, though. That didn't get a theatrical release outside the US and Canada, but whatever. Anyway, yes, I do have to take off now. Thank you guys so much for watching this little babbling review, and we'll see you next time.